Hello, my name is Rachel and I lost 70 pounds on a GLP-1 and I've been off the shot for 18 months. I know I originally came on here to document a mock prep that I'm doing for a fashion show, but I never really got on here to let everyone know like my experience with the GLP-1 and what I went through and how I titrated off. So I decided that I'm gonna go ahead and do a few videos with my experience and hoping that it can benefit someone from the way I did things, or just give some inspiration as well that we are able to get off this shot if we need to. If I know some people are on it for diabetes, but you know, who's to say that you can't get off of the shot? But anyway, this video in particular is going to be about how I got here. I wasn't a overweight child. I didn't start gaining the weight until I got into my early 20s, when I started to drink and not have any kind of activity in my life, just eating and drinking and the party scene at that age. Um, and it started to just creep up on me. I was about 120 pounds maybe when I was in my 20s, my early 20s, and at that point in time I always say it, I'm 4'11", and I like to say that because I want people to know that 120 doesn't sound like a lot to a lot of people, but when you're short, the weight is carried on, really hard on your body. I gained a lot of weight in my midsection and my lower body, so 120 pounds at the time, now that I think about it, wasn't bad, but in my eyes at that point, after gaining 15 pounds when you're used to being 105, it seems like a lot. So I would start to do the little military diets and cabbage diets and pills and ollie pills and phentermine. I did it all. I really did. Um, and every time I did one of those diets, yes, they worked, but they were not anything that I could be consistent with. I couldn't stay on phentermine forever. It ended up slowing down on me and not working. And of course, you couldn't take stronger doses. You just had to try to live a better lifestyle and get off the medicine. And I wouldn't do that. I would just, take the shot, the pill or whatever, and think it would work. And then I would lose some weight and get off it and think that I can go on living the same lifestyle that I was living and gain 5 pounds more than I was. And it just trickled on all the way up until now. In 2006, it was the first diet that actually really worked for about a year, and that was Weight Watchers. I was 31 years old and probably at my highest 145, 150 at the time, and I got as low as 127. This was the lowest I had been through all the times that I was trying to diet. It was 127. I did Weight Watchers, and I was breastfeeding. It was after my firstborn. Me, my mom, and my sister decided to go join the Weight Watchers when they had meetings and stuff. I don't know if they still have meetings, but getting the rewards and doing all of those things and them giving me the right foods for breastfeeding, I just started to drop the weight, and um, it was really good. But then my mom got off the diet. I met someone and I just stopped going to the meetings. I started to drink again and socialize again with friends and go to dinners and stuff like that, and there the weight started to trickle back on. And it was hard to not to juggle trying to count calories and do all these things and still go out on dates and not feel embarrassed that I'm being selective and counting points and doing all these things. So I would just not do it. I was just a little embarrassed around friends to do it, and thought, hey, 127, I look good enough. You know, I settled for that weight. And it didn't look bad on me. It wasn't an unhealthy weight loss. Um, and so that was the first time that I tried a diet that actually worked. As I said, I did get off it and gradually started gaining the weight back. And I believe I got up to it about 150 pounds, 155. And in 2007, for my birthday, he decided to take me to dinner with a lot of friends, and he proposed to me. So here we were trying to set a date for our wedding, and my birthday's in December, early December, and so when he proposed, I was like, oh great, you know, there's this elliptical machine I really want, and I'm gonna get that, and I'm gonna start dieting for this wedding, and you know, was getting all excited about it. And for that 2007, for that Christmas, he ends up getting me an elliptical machine, and I was so upset. I was like, how dare he wants to marry me, but only if I'm skinny. Like, I was all in my head about it being an insult when he was trying to do something nice for me, because this was something that I wanted and they weren't cheap. But it was just the fact that he did it for Christmas as a gift after he proposes to me. I was like, what the, how can you like ask me to marry you and then want me to be skinny? Like, you're supposed to love me the way I am. And it was funny because it's this huge box and it's on the porch, and we have family around and they're coming. All the ladies are like, what did he get you, this big old box, right? And I open it and it's the elliptical, and it just gets quiet, and I look at him and my smile is disappearing. And that elliptical stayed in that box for probably about another 8 or 9 months. I refused to open it because I was so mad. But then I went, we ended up getting married in 2009. So I had some time, you know, to lose the weight, and I just wasn't trying. I wouldn't open the box. I just refused to get on the elliptical machine. But one day, my cousin and I went dress shopping, and I said, you know what? I haven't even seen like what kind of dress I want. I just want to go and look. And I go and I look at dresses, and of course, wedding dresses are put in smaller sizes, or at least that's what I felt. I was like in a 16, 18 wedding dress at 150 pounds, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm like a 12, maybe 14, but not a 16 and 18. And so I was like, I gotta get on the ball. I cannot wear a wedding dress that's a size 18. You know, I just can't do it. So I went home and I asked him to go to my house and to fix the elliptical machine for me, and he did. And so that was the next step of a weight loss that I did. And with that, I would get on that elliptical 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening, and I dropped about 20 pounds. For our wedding date, for our wedding, I was 135 pounds, and that was, you know, the smallest I had been in a year or so. So I was like, you know what, this is good. The wedding dress looked nice. I was so, you know, ecstatic about like looking good in my wedding dress. And we went on our honeymoon, and there went the elliptical machine. It was just something that was just upstairs at my house that I didn't look at or use for a long time. So here we are, we get home, I don't use the elliptical anymore, and we stop actually going out. Like at the beginning of our, you know, the first few years of our relationship, we would actually go dancing and do things outdoors and, you know, activity. And all of a sudden, we're living in the same house now, and we're having social events at the house, get-togethers at the house, sitting, not dancing, enjoying company. It was all fun, but it was just no kind of activity, and there goes the weight gain. Not even getting on the elliptical machine. Um, at that point in time, I just kept, gaining a little bit of weight here and there. And in 2012, I looked into getting the lap band. I'm sure most of you will know that the lap band is a little balloon that they put on the stomach, and it leads to a port that's right there in your stomach, on the underneath your skin, and it has a little port. So what you do is every time you need to get that balloon filled to tighten the stomach even more, you go to the office and they inject saline through the port that's right there underneath your skin. And so I was like, you know what? I'm hearing people lose on this lap band. I really want to do it. My insurance was covering it. And so I didn't even care about any risks. I wasn't looking at any research on, if people were dying. I didn't. I was just so desperate to lose the weight. I was already getting up to 160 pounds, and I went through all of the stuff that I needed to go through, and the only thing they really told me was, don't eat starchy foods. It'll get stuck. You need to eat veggies and lean meats. And I was like, yeah, that's what you have to do in any diet, right? So no problem. I can do that. But I wish that I would have had some kind of counseling. Like, I don't think it was all about just what I was eating. I needed to learn what food was doing to my body and start taking care of it, but I didn't. I didn't do it. I'm not here to make up excuses on why I ended up being as big as I got towards the end. It's just, it was me, not eating right. I knew what I had to do, but I didn't want to do it. I wanted the easy way out, the lazy way, not the easy way out, because even when you get bariatric surgery and stuff, that is not the easy way out. Like, surgery is surgery. It's a risk. Recovery. I mean, I didn't think of how I was going to have to recover and all that, but it's not an easy way out. I felt like it was the quickest. Not easy, just quicker. And so I went for it and I did it. And the weight was coming off like a pound or so. I still was trying to eat food that I wasn't supposed to, just less of it. Kind of like the way people do on the shot. Less food, but not the right kinds of food. And maybe about 3 months in, I had only lost about 6 pounds, but every 4 weeks I was going to get it filled, and they'd say, no, we're just doing a little bit at a time, and I'd be like, okay, well, it's not working. So they would just fill it. They wouldn't question me. They would just fill it every time I went. And as long as I said that, I could still eat normal foods and say that I was eating all this food, they would say, well, that's still too much food, and they would put the saline in there and tighten up the balloon, and I would be able to eat less. So then there was one point at about 6 months in that food got stuck. And before, anytime food got stuck, I would just go throw it up and then come back and keep eating, just slower and be more careful. But since I wasn't changing the type of food or how I ate, slowing down and doing all those things, it would keep getting stuck, and I would just go throw it up and then come back and eat. Not all the time, but that would happen occasionally. Well, one time it happened, and I couldn't throw it up. It was too far in, but not far enough to actually go through the stomach, and I could feel it. And so I thought, well, maybe if I can drink some water, I can let it flush down. And it wouldn't. I would spit back up the water. And then it was like, okay, well, let me wait a few hours. And the hours, this was on a Friday night. We had went to dinner. And I didn't want to say anything to anybody. I was embarrassed. I just pretended like nothing, like I didn't want to eat anymore. I was barely sipping on water, and it would barely want to go through. And in my head, I was scared, but I didn't say anything at dinner. I didn't tell anybody anything. So from that night, I just didn't eat. The next day, I thought maybe if I just let it go down. Saturday came, nothing. I could not hold anything down, not even water. I was, my face started to look shrunken. I can't even remember how much weight I lost, but it had to be within that 5 days, maybe like 10 to 12 pounds. I was looking sick. And it wasn't even that I was thin. It was just, I was so pale. I was dehydrated. I didn't have water. I was like dying. So I was like, let me just wait for Monday. And I finally told my husband, like, I can't get this down. Like, I'm so thirsty and I can't drink water. So what I ended up doing was filling up the tub with water on Sunday morning, and periodically I would go and just lay in the water, and it would like quench that thirst. And there was one time at Sunday night, by Sunday night, I was almost sleeping in there. And my husband's like, go to the ER. And I'm like, well, what can they do? Like, they're not experienced in this. No, let me just wait it out. I'm embarrassed. I was more embarrassed than worried about my health. And my husband was so upset with me and telling me, like, you need to go to the hospital. I was like, no, I'm just going to wait till Monday. So Monday comes, I call the doctor's office, and they say they don't have any appointments. And I'm like, please, just let me come in. Something's going on. I can't eat. It's been since Friday. And they're like, well, you can come in Tuesday at 9. And so by Monday afternoon, I was like feeling so weak and falling asleep. And my husband says, we're going to the doctor. We go to the doctor. They put some iodine in. They put me in the machine, and they take all the fluid out. So they take all this fluid out and tell me, okay, let it heal, your body get back to what you need to be eating. It's gonna be okay now. It's a little irritated, but come back in 2 weeks. Did I go back in 2 weeks? No. I said, I don't ever want to fill that thing back up again. I was like, it didn't work for me. That port is going to stay in there. That band is going to stay in there. The balloon, I don't want it. I will get chubby. Like, that was what I was saying to myself. Like, drinking water and loving to quench my thirst with it. It was just felt so good. And I was like, I'm not going to feel it again. And I only told a couple of people about it. I was just too scared to say anything. And I think I even have a photo of what I looked like. And it wasn't even, like I said, that I lost a lot of weight from it, but my face was so depleted. It was just horrible. And to think, like, I did that to myself just for the scale. It wasn't for my health. It was for the scale. For the numbers to go down, for the sizes to go down. And I didn't care about what was happening to my body or the results of what could have happened to my body. I just did it without a second thought. So after the lap band incident, I went back up to about 170. I did yo-yo with other things here and there, but it just kept creeping up. And it wasn't even that I figured something was wrong with my health, because I knew I was just not eating right, and I wasn't working out, doing anything. So I knew why I was gaining it, and I just wanted some other way besides giving up my favorite foods and my alcohol. So I was just out there trying to find something else, and I came across an advertisement for Houston Fit, and I was like, oh, this is I researched it. They were a group of runners that trained you how to do marathons. And at this point in time, when I started looking that up, I was about between 175 176, and I was like, they're gonna have a new training session in June. I said, this is perfect. I'm gonna go join this, and I bet I'm gonna lose a whole bunch of weight. If I'm training for a marathon, I'm gonna lose weight. I didn't even know what was involved in a 26.2 mile marathon. In my head, 26 was a small number, and I could do it. Like, if they train me and I listen to them, I can do it. So I go to their meetup and I pay my tuition and I start with them. And with them, what you do is they give you your schedule during the week. And on Saturdays, you do your distance run. During the week, it's timed. And every Saturday, you meet up. And then after the run, after your distance run, they give you like an educational seminar. And that's where I learned, okay, you have to eat a pre-workout full of carbs so that your body can use it for its energy. And I was like, okay, I could do that. I would eat my banana. I would do these things. I met people. I learned that it was like a big stress reliever. I would even see myself, the very first one was 3 miles. And of course, they have like different groups, the 10-minute milers, the 7-minute milers, 13-minute milers. They have all these different groups. And of course, I was in the 13 and up miler group because I was barely starting out. And I remember that 3 miles that we did was the first one. You had to do your 3 miles. And I lagged behind and I was slow, but I finished it. And I was like, okay. By the time I knew it, I was on 8 miles. And it was like I was disciplined. I was getting up at 6. Later on, it was 10 miles and you had to get up at 5:30. And then it was 15 miles and you had to get up at 4. So it was intense, some of those, because I was still trying to go out on Friday with friends and family, socializing and having drinks. But I knew I still had to get up on that Saturday to go do my practice runs. And I was doing it. I was being accountable for what I had put in action. This was a commitment to do a 26.2, and I was going to do it. And I didn't lose weight. I was like, I'm not losing any weight, but look at all this running I'm doing. Well, at least I'm balancing. I started to be okay with not losing weight because of the fact that I was enjoying the runs. It was a big stress reliever for me. It felt good to every week accomplish more miles and feel good about, like, look, I'm 175 pounds and I can do 8 miles and I can keep up with people. And so I still continued to run even though I did not lose any weight. I was at 175, 176 pounds. I have a picture of me finishing a 26.2 mile run. And I remember even at the 10th mile, there was a little skinny girl calling someone to pick her up because she was done. And to me, that told me a lot about mentality. And I think that's where I get it from. When you see any of my other videos, how I don't give myself grace and how I, just suck it up and do it and wake up at 4:45 every morning when I had to, because running that marathon at 175 pounds and completing it showed me that I had discipline. And even though it didn't show me that I needed to eat better for my health, it did show me that mentally I could do anything, no matter my age and no matter my weight. And that Houston Fit really taught me that. You can train your mind to make your body do what it needs to do. It is not only about how much weight you have on your body. And I hope that reaches people when they feel like, oh, I'm already 52, I'll be good with this weight, or oh, I'm never going to get down to that. Yes, you can. If you put your mind to it, your body will do it. You just have to put your mind to it. And that was a big lesson I learned, even though I still went years later yo-yo dieting and doing crazy shit. I knew that if I put my mind to it, I could do it. It was just not happening because I wanted quicker. That's it. By that time, I was 39 years old when I accomplished that goal. And even then, afterwards, I did more yo-yoing. I did try keto and got back down to 145 pounds. That was something that really worked and could still work. It's just not my lifestyle. So I ended up gaining that back as well. And then fast forward to 2020, when I heard about air sculpt. So with air sculpt, you actually are awake when they give you lipo. And I thought, you know what? Maybe that's what I need, some motivation. If I can just lose my tummy area and look better in my jeans, then maybe I can just, do the rest on my own and start working out and doing things to like, this would just be that boost I need. There I go, getting a quote, sending pictures. Oh, they're promising you're gonna lose all this fat, and it's never gonna come back, and whatever. I did it. I was awake. I was bruised all over my stomach. It was painful, and there I was with another surgery because I didn't learn my lesson that I need to start eating better. I did that. It looked good for a few months, maybe 8 or 9 months, and then I was eating the way I used to and doing the things that I shouldn't be, eating the things and doing the things that I shouldn't be doing. So between that time and, after 2020, I still would try things like phentermine and the HCG diet. And that one it worked. I was on it for 28 days like you're supposed to, and I lost a lot of weight. But then when it went to the maintenance phase, it was like, I don't need no maintenance phase. I just can eat and watch what I eat and just watch the scale. And I didn't do that. So at 182, that's not my biggest or my highest weight. My highest weight was 186, but I had started to try keto again, and so I had already lost about 4 pounds, and here I was at 182 pounds. And so that's how the progression started. That's how I gained, and the weight started creeping up. It wasn't anything from my childhood. Again, it was just me doing things wrong, wanting to have that social life, thinking that those things were more important than my body. And so there I was, and that's how I got here. I wanted to let y'all know that this was my story before the magic pill or the magic shot. People call, like I said, the easy way out, which I still just think it is a tool. And I lost 70 pounds on it, and I will come back on here and let you know how that went. Thanks for watching.